Hey guys, I went to see Anti-Flag in Toronto tonight, a band that I've been dying to see for a very long time, and they're currently touring across North America, and I'm sure if you're a fan of the band you know this, but you also know that they're not headlining. No, they're not. The Bouncing Souls are. Now, I'm not a fan of the Bouncing Souls. I honestly didn't know they were the headliners on this tour until 2 days before the show, and I'm not going to include them in this review just because I only stayed for two of their songs, the two opening songs of their set, and I think it would be disingenuous of my part if I include a band that I only caught 5% of their material. So I'm going to talk about Anti-Flag because that's who I was there to see, and I'm also going to talk about the two bands that came before them, which they are a Wilhelm Scream and the Venomous Pinks. And I'm actually going to start this review by talking about the Venomous Pinks, the first band of the evening. 3 girls in a punk rock band. This could be a TV show. I fucking loved it. Honestly, the sound at times felt a little sloppy, felt a little raw, but it's punk rock. It's supposed to be sloppy, it's supposed to be raw, and I just enjoyed their energy. They had great presence on stage. They had great energy. It's never easy to be the first band of the evening. It was a sold-out show. By the time they hit the stage, I would say half the crowd was there. So it's still a very nice packed house at that point, and they put on a great performance. They really gave it them all. They didn't leave anything behind. They put everything in what they were doing, in their sound, in their music, and their interactions with the audience. Very active band, a band that just didn't come up, stood in front of the mic and play their tracks. No, they moved around, they created energy on stage, energy that then gets transported into the audience. It's definitely a band that I would love to see again. I think this is a band that has a lot of potential, that they can do really great things. And the fact that they have this uplifting energy about them in their songs, in their performance, in their interactions, just really makes the overall evening really engaging, regardless if you knew them coming in or if you were like me and this is your first time actually listening to any of their songs. So the Venomous Pinks, definitely one of the highlights of the night and my discovery of the evening. Then comes a Wilhelm Scream. This band also has great energy. They have, how can I put it this way? They have a hardcore look, but more of a punk sound. They're kind of in between a melodic hardcore band and a punk rock band. They're trying to find or walking that fine line between those two genres, but also great energy, great sound. I would say there was a lot of fans of the band in the crowd because while I was waiting in line, I saw tons of t-shirts and hoodies and sweaters with the name of the band on them. So they definitely had a huge presence as far as the fan base is concerned in the house tonight. They had a little bit of a longer set compared to the Venomous Pinks, but they put on a great show, and I think they really used their time wisely in order to create a very interactive atmosphere with the audience. And I remember a specific moment. There's somebody that has their kid on their shoulders. This was an all ages show. There was a lot of actually young kids in the crowd. I would say under the age of 10. A lot of kids under the age of 10, which is great to see that at a punk rock show. I wish more shows were all ages, that parents could take their kids to them so that these kids can start getting introduced to these bands at an early age, start building that relationship with the bands. This is the only way the scene can grow and the scene can be sustainable, either be the punk rock scene, the hardcore scene, or the metal scene. Too bad that in Toronto at least, it's not very often that we have all ages shows. So it's really nice to see young kids in the crowd. But there was one of the parents there that had the kid on his shoulders, and the boys from a Wilhelm Scream actually gave the kid a shout out, dedicated a song to them. This is how you win fans. This is what you should do. Interact with your fan base. Try to bring not just those that are there to see you on board with your message, but also try to win over those that never heard of you before and are watching you for the first time. That kid is never going to forget that experience. That experience is going to be part of his not only childhood now, but as he moves into his teenage years and then adulthood. He's always going to remember that night. He's always going to remember that band. And I think more than just the music, more than just the message in the music, these moments really define what a band can mean to an individual. To that kid, one day is going to be a man. Maybe take his own kid to see this band again when they're doing one of their farewell tours 40, 50 years from now. So anyhow, I really enjoyed that interaction. I really enjoyed that idea of connecting with the fans directly. Very interesting. Not a lot of bands think that way. Not a lot of bands act that way. So kudos to them for having that foresight and understanding, not just where they are and where the scene is, but where you can take it as far as the future is concerned. Like I said, super energetic band, super energetic set. It went by super quickly because the songs were fun, the atmosphere was fun, people were singing along, people were having a good time, the pit was rowdy, so everything that you would want from a band that's on a bill like this with other great bands around them. Then came the band that I was there to see, Anti-Flag. Now, it's been many years since these guys been around. For one reason or another, I've never gotten to see them, and tonight I popped my cherry. I finally was able to see one of their sets. The only thing I have to say is that I wish the set was at least half an hour longer. And I don't think I'm alone, because I feel like the majority of the crowd there was there for them. So I'm sure everybody wanted to see more of them. I heard a lot of people mentioning the fact that they were not headlining on this tour, and they were surprised by that because they felt like they could headline this tour. Even a few guys that were passing by me at the end of their set, they were mentioning like, man, I wish they had played half an hour more. Why are they not the headliners? We wanted more from them. It just shows you the love affair that Toronto has with Anti-Flag. They play here quite often, and they always have good turnouts, and tonight was no different. Their set was outstanding. Talk about energy. These guys are like Red Bull, times 1,000. I'm sure. I'm not sure if they drink Red Bull, but they sure had wings. I'll tell you that much. All of them had wings because everybody was bouncing all over the place. Everybody was jumping all over the place. Everybody had this great energy about them. It was such a lively performance. Incredible. From a stage presence point of view alone, it was a show within the show. Then obviously they picked a really good set that had the right chemistry. The songs had the right movement that really allowed them to go in a very smooth, fluid, and dynamic way from track to track, almost building a set list the same way you would build a full-length record in order to give you that sense of beginning, middle, and end. I enjoy the medley of bringing old tracks and creating this medley of songs, 10 songs in 5 minutes. I thought that was really interesting, really cool. It gives you glimpses of different tracks that normally you don't get to hear, and it's better to hear a few seconds of a song than not hear a song at all. So I enjoyed that. That was different as well. I mean, so many little things here and there that really made things interesting, that made their set feel like perfect to a certain extent, because obviously the only way it would have been perfect is if, like I said, if they had 30 minutes more of music. But outside of that, it was a really fun performance. The crowd was insane during their set, really alive. Tons of crowd surfers. The pit was going. Everybody was singing along. Everybody was having a great time. They have the right message, a very positive message all evening by all bands, I must say. But very positive message by Anti-Flag, a message of love, a message of union, a message of brotherhood. And I think in a world that's super divided, regardless of where you stand, it's always nice to see a band not just trying to push their message or their agenda, but also being conscious of the fact that, sometimes you're not going to win people over, but it's important for us to have respect for those that are beside us, regardless of our own differences. And I felt like at the end of the day, that was more of their message than anything else. Respect those beside you, and in hope that they will respect you as well. So really great evening, really great band, great live band. I honestly, I was enjoying two shows. I was enjoying the music, and I was enjoying everything that was happening on stage. It was phenomenal evening. They put on a phenomenal show. I learned my lesson. I will not miss another night of Anti-Flag in Toronto. It's a promise. I will definitely be attending going forward. I don't care what is happening. I'll be there, because it was just something that made me forget about everything else that is happening in the world, in my personal life, in the world around me. For the time and the duration of their set, I was fully entertained. I was fully engaged, and they were able to shut down or shut off the world and just allow us to kind of feel the moment and live in that moment, which is what live music should be all about. So thank you for the evening, Anti-Flag, and I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on the bands, on their performances, if you've been able to catch any of their shows. Tell me if you've discovered a band on this tour that you had never heard before? How do you feel towards it? Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video.